Hello, just happy to be here at Kids Play and this being Black History Month and knowing that, our theme is teamwork makes the dream work. So we want to keep the train running. We want to continue. As you see, I'm sitting here in front of a train, but the spark that keeps our engines on the go is the fact that we recognize things. We recognize that it takes a team effort to make these things work. So this being Black History Month, and also we recognize President's Day. It's President, so Martin Luther King always had a team with him. And so a lot of his team members were leaders in their own right. He had people like Ralph Abernathy. He had people like Rosa Parks, people like Stokely Carmichael, who was also the Student Non-Violent Coordinating Committee. He had John Lewis, and we know John Lewis, who recently passed. He was a congressman. He also spoke at the rally and March on Washington. So he had several of these people around him constantly. So we say teamwork is recognizing the need to work together and to come together in this great country of ours. So as we learn to work together and share moments together, we are able to overcome. It's about overcoming obstacles. It's about giving opportunity to everyone, regardless of the color of their skin. As Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King used to say, he said, we want to judge them not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So he believed in working together with all kinds of people. And his theme song was We Shall Overcome, moving non-violently against racism and against hatred and oppression. He was one that really wanted to work preaching and teaching the gospel of love. He said, talking about having the strength to love. It takes the strength to love people, to know and to move in circles, even when people are showing hate to you. So the freedom ride or the freedom train is built on love and working together. It's built on harmony. It's built on peace. It's built on saying, I have that dream, but my dream is to be able to work with you. And when I can work with you, I know I have to have the strength of love to work with you to be able to do these things. So it's good. It's just like when we look at teams, strong teams, even in sports, if I look at a strong team, they may have a powerful, somebody like LeBron James or in basketball or Tom Brady in football, but they have powerful people working around them. So it takes that collective effort in order for that team to win. And it takes a collective effort. That's what Martin Luther King recognized. So he worked with presidents. He worked with President Eisenhower. He worked with President Kennedy. He worked with President Lyndon Johnson. He had moments where they came together, they worked together, they organized together, and so he was able to talk to them. He worked with them. So Kennedy, one of the things about President Kennedy, he met with the leaders. He met with the African-American community at the time. There was a guy by the name of Roy Wilkins who was head of the NAACP. And then there was another guy, James Farmer, who was the head of CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality. There was John Lewis, who we told you about earlier, SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Now, all of these guys are leaders in their own right, but they're working on this team along with Martin Luther King. And then you had Whitney Young, head of the Urban League. He also worked with Dr. King. Powerful leaders. And of course, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who was the head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Many ministers in that conference. So he's working with President Kennedy. President Kennedy created a committee on equal opportunity, employment, and put together a commission on integration into the armed forces. So making sure that there was a lot of separatism in the armed forces back in those days. So you had black units and you had white units, but Kennedy worked on bringing them together, working together, so that they would be a common unit, not like segregated like some issues were here in the States. But he faced a lot of opposition from lawmakers. But in June, so when we look at, I'll show you a picture here of Kennedy and King working together. Excuse me, it's kind of like stuck together. Here's Kennedy and some leaders. And there's another picture of Kennedy. I'm old enough to be around when these guys were president. So you have President Kennedy working with Martin Luther King. So as we say, teamwork makes the dream work. The dream can't come together, or the train can't run if there's not some people working together. You got the conductor, but at the same time, you got the others working on the train, taking care of the engine, taking care of the passengers. We got folk working together. So when we look at that team, we're not just looking at the leader. We're not just looking at the head. We're looking at folk who are coming together for a common cause. So when we look in this country, we see that King was able to speak with some of the head leaders, like he spoke with Johnson. He spoke with President Kennedy, as we could see here. So President Lyndon Johnson, on August 6, 1965, he signs the Voting Rights Act, guarantee African Americans the right to vote. Now, they had the right to vote, but there were people that would discriminate. So it made it illegal to impose restrictions on federal, state, and local elections. At that time, the states were not obeying the federal regulation. So he signed it into law. You gotta obey this. You can't have these restrictions for people anymore. Open it up to all. So that's keeping the dream alive. Once again, we wanna say, what? Teamwork makes the dream work. It's gonna make that train run. If we ain't got everybody working together, it's not gonna come together. We're not gonna be able to do the things that we need to do. Remember, teamwork. If presidents and members of the African American community can come together and are striving to make the dream a reality, why can't we all come together and work in harmony? Why can't we all work in unity? Why can't we all be in peace? President Kennedy said, and I quote this because he said, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Ask not what your country can do for you. One songwriter says it starts with me. I was talking to a young man yesterday, and he said, we got to have love. We got to bring, and the love starts with us. So if I don't have love in my heart, how can I give you love? So it starts with me. And Barack Obama said, yes, we can. So we know that we can do this. Eisenhower spent the time working with individuals. Kennedy spent the time working with people from the African community. Here's a picture of President Eisenhower, the white. Eisenhower, and he was working with leaders such as Dr. King. King was such a guy that he could work with almost anybody. He worked with all kinds of people. And that was one of the things about his leadership. It was inclusive. We need to be inclusive when we're doing things. We need to come together. All of us need to come together and to work together. And we talked about Lyndon Johnson signing the Voting Rights Act. Here's a picture of Lyndon Johnson along with Dr. Martin Luther King signing the Voting Rights Act. So they're working together, they're coming together. And so that's what we have to do. It's amazing to me that in this time of coronavirus, when we all are facing a dreaded disease worldwide, why we don't work together even more so. We don't come together even more so. Teamwork makes the dream work. When we all come together as one, we're able to ride that freedom train. Freedom train. We can ride it. So no more Underground Railroad. No more. No, we'll all be part of the dream and we'll carry the load. We'll all be part of that dream. We can come together, we can work together. Remember, teamwork will make the freedom train run. Thank you.